Hi, this is The Recovering Perfectionist. I'm Claire Barton and you're in the right place at the right time. If you're starting to feel like some of your perfectionism is really getting in the way of you moving forward, getting started or finishing anything, this is absolutely the right show for you. I'm going to be talking to people I absolutely love about their tips and tricks to get started with your business or your project or whatever other thing it is that you want to start creating. This is rehab for your perfectionism, baby, so grab yourself a glass of wine or a cuppa and let's get stuck into it. Hi everyone, it's Claire Barton and this is the very first episode of The Recovering Perfectionist. I'm so glad it's here and I'm so glad that you're here and you're listening and up for something a bit new. So I guess I really just want to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about where The Recovering Perfectionist has come from and why it's my absolute favourite / obsessive project on the go at the moment, and what you can expect from the show in the future, or at least in the immediate future. I'm sure it'll change a little bit over the course of the time that I do it and that sort of thing, but I guess I'll just tell you a bit about my vision for it and all of that sort of thing. So I'm really happy that you're here and thank you so much for tuning in, and I'd love to hear your feedback as well, which I'll let you know how you can do at the end of this episode as well. So I guess without further ado, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. As you know, my name's Claire. I live in Brisbane, Australia at the moment. I run a business. I'm a planning and business coach and strategist. I work mainly online and mainly with women who are in mainly service industry as well. My jam is absolutely planning. I absolutely love to plan and organise. In fact, when I started my business a couple of years ago, or just over a year ago, my pitch was very inarticulate, and it kind of went something like, "Hey, my name's Claire. I'm really good at organising and planning stuff. Do you need anything organised and planned? Because I can do that for you," or whatever. That was my pitch, literally. So it's a little bit more articulated now. I run a couple of online courses. I've got a beautiful online Facebook group which is called the Recovering Perfectionist Crew, so you can jump over there if you want to check us out there. And I do lots of different bits and pieces. I'm a bit of a fan of kind of being opportunistic and following where the energy is pulling me and what's sort of interesting me at the moment. So I've got lots of little projects on the go which you'll learn more about, I'm sure, over the course of time and listening. So that's a bit about me. I live, as I said, in Brisbane. I've got two little kids who are 2 and 3, a girl and a boy, who keep me very busy. They're in daycare about 3 days a week, and the rest of the time between my husband and I, we just try and have a bit of fun with them and give them a great childhood while trying to stay completely sane ourselves, which means we end up drinking a wine just about every night. I'm sure you know exactly what that's like if you've got little kids as well, or if you've had little kids, or anything actually. So that's a bit about me. My background has been in operations management, business management, HR management. I worked in retail for a long time in Australia and in London. That's kind of my thing. I really like to organise, as I said, and I guess manage the little finer details and that sort of thing. So anyway, enough about all of that. I'd love to tell you about The Recovering Perfectionist and why and how it sort of came about. Now, with regards to the show, the podcast and YouTube show, I have known that I'd wanted to do something for about, 6 to 12 months. And before that, I didn't really understand the podcasting world. I really just sort of felt like it was something that celebrities did. And it was just another way for them to kind of get their message out or talk about something. And it was really celebrity-centric in my mind. And then I, started moving in some different circles of beautiful online entrepreneurs and women, and realised that anyone can do it, and there's a lot of beautiful messages, and it's just a really great way to kind of communicate your message and get something across, and really just a platform to have a bit of a rant sometimes, which, you'll probably find out. I quite like having a bit of a rant, and I certainly like having a platform to do that, and hope that it's really interesting to some people to listen to as well. So I've kind of known that I wanted to do it for about 6 months. I didn't really know exactly what it was going to be about. I didn't really know what it would be called or who it would be for or what the whole point of it was, but I knew I wanted to do it. And then, as I just talked about, I kind of really I'm trying more and more to tap into my the energy and the creativity and stuff that's kind of pulling me in one way or another, and actually listen to that and follow that energy. And then at one point, I guess over the space of a couple of weeks, the podcast thing and the show thing was really kind of drawing me to it, so I gave it a bit of energy and a bit of space and a bit of love. And I was sitting there one day, and I don't know, the name of it came to me, and the whole kind of premise of it, and I initially was going to call it Ain't No Poster Girl, which to me kind of means you don't have to be the poster girl for you've got your shit together. You don't have to be the poster girl for being the perfect mother. You don't have to be the poster girl for having the most incredible fail-proof business. Like you don't have to be the poster girl. You can kind of just go through and bumble and make mistakes and give it a go. And I sat with that for a little while, and I didn't really know where it had come from. And I'm just going to take you back, and you'll hear a little bit more about this story in one of the episodes with Leah Kearns. I had a session with her. She's an intuitive business mentor amongst 1,000 other things, but we had a session about probably 6 or 8 months before this whole process sort of started happening, where I was sort of a bit lost in the direction of my business. I was like, I don't really know what I want to do. I don't really know where I'm going. I don't really know who I want to work with. I just was having a bit of a moment about the whole direction of my business and how it was going to work in the business model and all that sort of thing. And I said to her, one of the reasons that I started this was because a lot of people would say to me often, how do you do it all? Like, how do you do all this stuff? You've got, back at in that time I had, 2 kids under 2. My husband worked FIFO, so he was only home for 1 week a month. I had started a couple of businesses, and I had a very busy social life, and I fitted a lot of things in, which I do, and that's my jam. That's just how I live, right? But I thought, well, if people literally were just asking me all the time, how do you fit it all in? Can you please help me? Can you help me understand how I can run my life a bit more efficiently, or how I can get to do the things that I want to do and not just the necessities, or not even the necessities. And so I thought, well, I can, make a business out of that and help mentor people through that. And she was like, yeah, that's cool, but I don't feel like you're the poster girl for you've got your shit together. And I was like, yes, I am. Yes, I am. But what else am I, sort of thing? And I kind of had this moment of like, I was nodding my head when I was talking to her. I was like, yeah, that's true. And she was like, you're more like the poster girl for, I've kind of got my shit together and I kind of don't, and that's cool as well. And I was like nodding my head going, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And I was thinking, I'm not going to do that. I'm the poster girl for I got my shit together. I've got this sorted. I'm handling this. This is cool. I'm coping. And sort of shelved it for the next little while. And then some things changed, as they do, obviously. And then I got this beautiful message that came to me when I was just sitting at my desk doing some work. This ain't no poster girl. I didn't know where it came from, and it wasn't until a few days later that I made the connection. And I was like, oh my God, Leah told me this was going to happen 6 months ago. She's already given me this kind of heads up, and now it's actually happened. And I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now. And then over the next couple of weeks, it kind of evolved into the recovering perfectionist for a few reasons. That mainly the word ain't didn't really sit with me right. I'd never say it in conversation. It didn't really feel like it rolled off the tongue. But the recovering perfectionist was a hashtag I used to use all the time when I was posting on social media and that sort of thing. So I actually just went with that. The recovering perfectionist, it seemed to roll off the tongue a bit better. It seemed really on point. It still had very much the same message in terms of not having to be the poster girl, not having to be perfect at everything, and being okay with where you're at, and being okay with making mistakes and stuffing things up, and asking for help, and not trying to do completely everything, and not trying to keep all your balls in the air if you don't want to. And also about this whole, I've really got a big thing, which you'll hear more about, I'm sure, about waste. It's a really big thing for me. Like, I hate wasting time. I hate wasting money, energy, oxygen, words, food. I just hate waste. It's a really big, thing for me, right? So I feel like the other part of being a recovering perfectionist is that I've kind of gotten to a point in a lot of things where I've gone, you know what, this isn't exactly what I pictured. This isn't where I thought I would be at this point. But actually, I'm going to stop and be grateful and appreciate what has happened and where I am at the moment. Because although, and I did have a really big thing, like a really big hang-up about probably when I was in my late 20s or so, that I wasn't where I thought I would be by that age when I was back in high school, for instance. So when I was like 16 or 17, I had this picture of where I was going to be in 10 years or by the time I was 30. And then by the time I was, late 20s, 30, I was at this point where I was like, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. This isn't what I was supposed to be doing. I'm so far, it's so different to what I thought I'd be doing. And I had a real thing about it. And then like on a practical and logical level, I knew that I'd done so much more and so many more interesting things, and I was in the right place at the right time, and I didn't have any regrets, but it was just this kind of, I don't know, quarter life crisis or whatever of going, it's not what I was supposed to be doing. And then as I got through that, I kind of was like, actually, this is perfect. Like if I hadn't done all of those other things, then I wouldn't be where I am now. So I just feel like in terms of the recovering perfectionist, I want to help people get their thing started or finished or more effective and efficient, so that they also don't feel like they've wasted time or wasted energy or all of that sort of thing. Something that makes me really, really sad is when I talk to people and they've got these amazing ideas or these beautiful kind of things that would be amazing for them and amazing for the world, and they don't have the confidence to get started. And some of that is, there's 1,000 different reasons, but some of it is that they don't really know what the end product's going to look like, or they don't really know how to get started, or they feel overwhelmed by all the different ways that they could get from point A to point B, or all of that sort of thing. So there's lots of different kind of reasons for that, and it just makes me really sad. And so I really sort of felt like if I can help some people move or get started, have the confidence to get started, and have some of those tools to get started and to feel like it's not so overwhelming, and also to help people get through that block of perfectionism / avoidance, then there'll be so many more beautiful things in the world for them and for other people. So that's kind of become a bit of a mission, I suppose. And I'll talk about purpose and my why and all of that sort of thing in a later episode, but it's really become obvious to me that that's part of my thing, is to kind of help hold space and help women give themselves permission. I'm not here to give anyone permission to do anything. Like, I'm not anyone else's mother. Just to help sort of hold that space and that confidence so that people can move through that stuff and get started or get finished or whatever it means to them. And a really interesting thing happened when I started talking about my show, The Recovering Perfectionist, and then a couple of months, or probably a month later or so, I changed my Facebook group. With the group's permission, we talked about it and they were all cool with it. So we then called the Facebook group The Recovering Perfectionist Crew. And since I started using that phrase, it has been so overwhelming and so amazing, all the responses of people going, oh, that's so me. Oh my God, this is the group for me. Oh, I need to be here. I absolutely, everyone's kind of owning that. And I want to put a little caveat on that, because I'm not saying that perfectionism is a bad thing, right? I used to go to job interviews. One of my sick pet hates is, one of my sick pet loves is getting interviewed for jobs. Like there might have been a couple of jobs that I've been interviewed for that I didn't get offered, but they were pretty few and far between. There's one time I went for 11 job interviews in 3 days, and I got offered 10 of them, and the 11th one we kind of decided in the interview that we weren't right for each other. And just to blow my own horn there a little bit, but I really like it. Like, I think, and I don't, when I think about it now in retrospect, it's probably because I have always felt a little bit uncomfortable talking about myself in a really great way. But when I was getting interviewed, of course you've got to talk about yourself like you're the best thing since sliced bread, so that people will hire you. Obviously, you've got to tell them all the great stuff. Anyway, that's another story. But, they always used to say, so tell me about your strengths and tell me about your weaknesses. And I would always say my weakness is that I'm a perfectionist. And I'd get two responses. One of them was, well, that's not a weakness. That's awesome. We love perfectionists around here, which I thought, cha-ching, awesome. I've just, a foot in the door, and I've said, oh, poor me, I'm a perfectionist. And they've gone, yay, we get someone who's going to do things really well. The other one, the other response was they'd go, oh, yeah, well, and we'd have a bit of a conversation about it, because the smart ones knew that perfectionists often don't finish things, or they're really self-critical, or they kind of get so way down in the detail that nothing ever it doesn't flow as well, because there's so many little hang-ups that is pedantic and unnecessary and that sort of thing. So it was really interesting. But I'm not saying that, like I said, I'm not saying that perfectionism is a bad thing. If you're cool with your perfectionism, by all means. And I'm not saying just put any toot out into the world and just don't worry about any sort of quality, and don't, just do anything you want and that sort of thing. I'm absolutely not advocating for poor work or poor anything. But it's just, I guess, a matter of understanding the different... I heard a really great quote. This is probably what's going to articulate and sum up what I'm trying to say here. I heard a really great quote a while ago that said something along the lines of, just remember, your 80% is someone else's 180%. And that really resonated with me, because I was like, not sounding arrogant, and there's things that would be my 180% that would be someone else's 80%. It's all kind of balances out. But there's some things that I would say, I just want to do a little bit more. I'll just put this, if you're making a cake, I'm just going to put another bit of icing on it. I'm just going to put another little flower. I'm just going to put another decoration. I'll put a ribbon around the bottom. And it's like, the cake was absolutely perfect half an hour ago. Let's just eat the cake. Let's just stop faffing around and eat the cake, or whatever sort of analogy you want to use. And that can actually just stop you from giving that thing and getting that thing out into the world. So I think that's probably, hopefully, sums up roughly what I'm trying to say. So I guess that's sort of the premise for the Recovering Perfectionist. As I said, I work with a lot of other women who are in business. So a lot of the people who I talk to on the show have their own businesses as well. I guess I'll tell you a little bit about the format and what you can expect from the show. So it will be, at the beginning, there'll be a couple of shows a week just to build up a bit of a library. So you can have a bit of a listen and kind of get elbows deep in some listening and hear from some people I love. There will be a mixture of solo shows, which will just be me. Some of them will be very practical and talking about very practical either business stuff or life stuff, or a lot of it will have a bit of a crossover. So some of the tools that I'll talk about, for example, are things you can use to make your business and your personal life more effective and more efficient. And the other format will be a conversation. So there may in the future be interview style, but most of them, all of them so far are conversations. So it's really just about jumping on with someone I want to have a talk to. And there's two ways that I've really gathered the people I've chatted with so far. I've either written down a topic that I want to talk about, and I'll let the universe bring me that person, and I'll tell you some stories about that as we go along. Or I've written down a person's name who I just really want to talk to, and then I'll approach them, and we'll kind of, suss out what we might talk about, get started, and just see where the conversation goes. So in that sense, everyone who is on for at least the first couple of months are people who I have worked with before, or who I know pretty well through the interwebs, or, we've kind of known of each other for quite a long time, and there's a common ground there. And most of the time, the conversations we talk about whatever, is relevant at the time, or whatever's their specialty or their kind of zone of genius. But we also look at it through the filter of the Recovering Perfectionist, like giving people really practical, easy to follow tips and advice, and kind of that confidence building thing, so that you can hear how other people have gotten over that perfectionism and over that avoidance, and actually start to do whatever it is that lights them up, and whatever the beautiful thing is bringing them, that they're bringing into the world. So it's really, really beautiful, and I've had some awesome conversations. The first couple of months are completely stellar, and I'm so proud of the recordings that we have so far. We've got a really good mix of conversations about, like I said, the practical stuff, and the really tools and tricks, and some really specific businessy sort of stuff, and the other side of things, which is really just a really a mindset and understanding how we work as people, and some psych stuff and that sort of thing. It's really, really interesting, having a good mix. So I've tried to, I'll try to make all the titles quite clear, and there will be show notes just in dot point form really, so you can have a bit of a look and see which ones you want to listen to. I know we're all pretty time poor and you might not have time to listen to all of them. The shows go for roughly 25 to 45 minutes depending on what we talk about, and like I said, it really is a conversation. So my whole thing about this, I've listened to a lot of podcasts too, and I don't get more than 5 or 10 minutes into the ones that are a bit droll and a bit boring to listen to and that sort of thing. So I really, really, really want these shows to be quite fast-paced. There's lots of information. We cover a lot of ground in all of them. Some of them take completely unexpected turns, which is really fun. So we'll start talking about one thing and it goes into a completely different direction, and then we may or may not bring it back to what we started with, depending on where the energy is and kind of what we're talking about. So I'd love to know what you think of that format and how you sort of find it. And of course, as I said, I've got the Facebook group, which is the Recovering Perfectionist Crew. So look us up. That's a ladies only group. Sorry, fellas, but fellas and everyone else can follow me on Facebook group or Instagram as well. So all the links will be down in show notes of this episode. And really importantly, I would just love to know what you think. And if you want to, you can jump in and rate and review the show. But certainly feel free to shoot me a message anytime and give me some suggestions. Definitely open to suggestions about people or topics that you'd like to hear about or from. And yeah, let's just have some fun with this. I'm so excited to be bringing this to you and to get started, giving you some beautiful rehab for your perfectionism. Yay! Awesome chatting with you. Awesome. Hopefully you're listening to me. I hope. Yeah, awesome. Thank you guys, and I will talk to you really soon. Okay, bye.